Now we know that's not true. Because when you have epistaxis and your junior resident goes there, without any history or whatever, something happens. You have 3 stages. You have the early phase, which is about 7 to 9 days. Common ENT and head neck manifestations include headache, fatigue, sore throat, rhinorrhea, myalgia, and even fever. And you know that common differentials of this could include influenza, pharyngitis, tonsillitis, infective rhinitis, and the like, and even Lassa fever. You have the mid phase, about 10 days to 11 days. High fever, rashes, vomiting, hematemesis, passive behavior, bruising, brain injuries, again, epistaxis, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes and orifice. Again, epistaxis, common differential, cholera, chickenpox, and the like. And of course, the terminal stage, day 12 and above, where you have massive dehydration, loss of consciousness, seizures, and massive internal hemorrhage. Multiple organ failures, especially the renal and the hepatic. And of course, what comes next? Death. So what are the basic safety measures? Every ENT surgeon and indeed all physicians should make conscious effort to obtain detailed travel history of patients encountered in the clinic. Take time. Take time to examine your patient. Take time to take proper and detailed history. Don't ever be in a rush. Detailed travel history of patients encountered in the clinic and consciously probe from the clinical features of other sick people encountered by the patients within the last 21 days. A cross-check of patients' temperature using the non-contact infrared thermometer before examination is also encouraged. Don't worry, that's not Titus, that's another person entirely. Prompting triaging and invitation of the disease surveillance and infectious disease team to investigate every suspected case, all primary and secondary contacts. You know, when you are doing the contact tracing, sick individuals are asked to identify contacts. Then the authorities will attempt to find and isolate the contacts. But this is difficult in urban environments where you have unknown contacts. You also have what you call community monitoring. Communities with infected individuals monitored daily. Travel between communities are then limited. This is effective. There is need to provide and enforce the observation of functional and customized protocols for each health institution, not just because of EVD, but for all infectious diseases. I don't know how many of us still use our face masks when we examine our patients in the clinic. Beyond testing suspected samples for EVD, there is need to expand frontiers for testing of other common hemorrhagic fever illnesses, imagine and reimagine, to avoid being taken unawares. Every surgeon and indeed operating room personnel, nurses, technicians, and anesthetic staff are predisposed through surgical operations to such undetected, suspected, or even confirmed patients, and hence they need to understudy the already outlined surgical protocols. Availability of PPE, personal protective equipment, and perfection of doffing of these kits, and act of operating under them via simulators prior to attending to such suspected or confirmed patients. I saw one other photograph. I can't lay my hands on it now. This is the PPE, but then the kind of, the one that was manufactured for us, you can hardly stay in there for 5 minutes. It's like you're in the oven. But we got over it. Above all, our consciousness should be aroused to the high probability of misdiagnosed cases of EVD, and therefore the application of primary personal and sanitary hygiene measures before and after attending to each patient in accordance with universal precaution principles. That's why I carry this about. Now, you have your sanitizer. You know I want to live 150 years currently. Every doctor and health worker should remember always that all efforts and technological advancements towards therapeutic care have been abortive, and therefore supportive treatment and fluid replacement therapy, prevention and control remain the only known intervention. The divide between protection of health workers and the violation of patients' rights can be a thin line. As observed recently, extreme measures such as quarantine, stigmatization of all individuals, visitors from EVD areas could be counterproductive, leading to high attrition rates of suspected cases of contacts, and even what? Litigations. And so what do we have in Nigeria? The glaring measures among other that obviously led to Nigerian successes include: 1, a quick declaration of a disaster, EVD disaster, by the Nigerian government, and massive mobilization of resources towards it. When you mobilize, there must be resources. And the speaker that spoke yesterday when we were doing the seminar said, when there is a will, there is a way. So massive mobilization. So it's not about them now, it's about us, and you may be included. Mass mobilization and sensitization of the public and entire citizens to Nigeria, including those in hinterlands, through the various arms of governments, opinion leaders, religious leaders, and very importantly, the health workers were very useful. Demystifying the disease to discourage attrition via global and holistic campaign against the myth surrounding EVD. At the back of each passport, then, you must have this sign in there. Deployment of telecommunications apparatus, especially the GCM and telephone operators, disseminating unsolicited messages regularly to all subscribers on facts and fiction. That time when you want to call anyone in Nigeria, the message will come in first on your telephone to give you an information as regards Ebola. Bearing in mind that at least 70% of the population has had access to this media. Modification of lifestyles and rituals to discourage the spread of EVD in religious houses, places of worship, homes, and villages were enforced through the leaders and voluntary organization. And of course, we had what we call Ebola Advisory Board. Furthermore, the selfless volunteerism by Nigerian medical workers and other health workers towards serving Ebola designated centers were quite helpful. Volunteerism. The rate limiting step was rather the number of PPEs available. Then, government announced health insurance and remuneration packages to further encourage the volunteer health workers. Naturally, health workers, when they volunteer and you don't find a way of motivating them, you will not have too much of their compliance. These measures and more were adopted to make EVD everyone's business in Nigeria. And within 3 months of fight against the containment, treatment of survivors, and total eradication of the disease in the country, the current president then was highly interested in it. That's Jonathan. The last president. He's not the current, because I can't tell you he's coming back. Yeah. On the contrary, discrimination, stigmatization, and tenacious adherence to some inimical cultural practices, poor and non-prompt response by the global health bodies, among others, have been identified as factors militating against the prompt containment and eradication of Ebola virus disease in other neighboring countries. So in conclusion, we must have a high index of suspicion. This is required to differentiate between the fatal Ebola virus disease manifestation from the aforementioned diseases in the head and neck with similar presentation. Prevention is the only cure. That's Titus in there, and that's Julio Valdez and Farrell. When we had the meeting, made up our mind as regards this Ebola virus disease manifestation. Thank you guys, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Lassa is an acute arenaviral hemorrhagic disease, very similar to Ebola earlier presented, and first identified in Lassa village, in the present Borno state, about 50 years ago. We know that it's no longer a native of just Borno, has spread to several parts of Nigeria. Today, endemic areas include Eboma, Abakaliki Axis, Nasarawa, even Jos, and it's widespread across the country, and of course in all the West African coast and beyond. It's transmitted by a rat, the Mastomys natalensis, which is also known as the multi-mammoth rat. For identification, this rat is small. The body and the rostrum is approximately 7 centimeters. And easy identification features include hairless tail, very long hairless tail, and the ventral part you will notice close to about a dozen breasts. That's why it's multi-mammoth. And whenever it is agitated, it usually passes urine. That's why the spread of this virus, which is excreted by the rat, is very rapid. About 250 million to 2 million across the globe are usually affected yearly, with fatality rate of up to 10,000. And interestingly, on our own site, is known to be associated with sensorineural hearing loss. But this is usually at convalescent stage, which is seen among survivors. And about at least 25% of survivors must come down with sensorineural hearing loss. However, as we're going to see in this paper, we found out that it can also occur in acute phase. This research was done 10 years ago in IROA, when I was still there in the Lassa research lab of IROA, which is still the best in the West African coast at this moment. Beyond sensorineural hearing loss, there are also other neurological sequelae that could be associated with Lassa, which includes convulsion, meningitis, etc. Okay, when we talk about the clinical features, if you take a very close look at this, you'll see that just like Ebola, it mimics a lot of things that we see in ear, nose, and throat diseases and illnesses. Fever is there. If you look down, of course, you'll see sore throat, cough, vomiting, epistaxis, of course, deafness, lymphadenitis, and confusional states, swollen face, etc. So a lot of diseases in ENT, and first presentation, you may think one can mistake this to be an ENT problem rather than Lassa itself. That's the danger. And that's where high index of suspicion is very important. Let's take a look of cascade of events that happen that will lead to this hearing loss that we are talking about. It is basically an immunological reaction. antigen-antibody reaction. So it's the antibodies of the Lassa virus that circulate within the system that is incriminated here, and is known to react with the hair cells of the cochlea. When this happens, most of these hair cells start degenerating and falling off. That's how the sensory hearing loss comes about. But beyond this, there's also known that it triggers off calcification of the cochlea itself. And that becomes a problem for when you talk of rehabilitation of these patients. Cochlear implantation will be a very difficult task here. In some of them where this calcification has already happened. And the acute phase, because that acute phase of Lassa fever, you realize that it's only the IgM that is present. You don't have IgG, which is what is known that is associated with this sequelae of sensory hearing loss. So the IgM in the acute phase is the only thing that is seen here. And sometimes, even before the antibodies start manifesting, some of them will come down with hearing loss, which is highly suggestive of direct invasion of the hair cells, even by the viruses itself, apart from the antigen-antibody reaction. Okay, so the work done in ERA was a prospective one, details as shown, and it was basically on survivors at the time of confirmation of Lassa fever. These people were further investigated, and they were followed up from the time of admission. The clinical features are very key here in the acute phase. The detection of the acute phase protein, the IgM, or the virus-specific reverse transcriptase polymerase reaction positivity, which was one of the high points why IRUA does the confirmation test, with the primers as shown here were used. And of course, they had audiological evaluation sequentially done in them. Then the speech discrimination was also characterized. Okay, the ASHA classification was used for the assessment of the level of hearing loss. And taking a look at the results, we are talking of 16 males and 21 females here, a total of 37 patients. Control were also selected within the same hospital, but in the GOPD. If you come to IRUA has a section that is dedicated to Lassa. So that's where Lassa patients are admitted. But in the GOPD, people who have other causes of fever that were not due to Lassa fever were repeated, including malaria, enteric fever, etc. That's what makes the control. And there were matched sets for age. And then the result. If you take a look at this, you can see the level of hearing loss. For those that had hearing loss among these 37 that were assessed, you can see moderate to severe sensory hearing loss. And they also had tympanometry done to rule out any other middle ear problem. Come out to the normal. Look at the speech discrimination, very poor. And that's why a lot of them treatments with hearing aids here, a lot of them, they don't respond positively well. Now, for the immunological test done on the patients, it's interesting to look at patient number 1, number 3, and number 5. You can see the IgM, the active phase protein, IgG were negative. But interestingly, in number 2 patient there, you realize there was no antibody. Both IgG and IgM still come down with sensory hearing loss, which attests to possible direct viral invasion. Well, I call this problem and prospects because this is discussion segment. It's not just enough to outline what we have done and what we found out. Part of the discussion in this Lassa seminar in Nigeria was trying to solve problems. one of the greatest problems here is the virulence and the fatality rate of Lassa fever. It's worthy of note that according to WHO, identification of a case of Lassa fever, just one case in any community, is declared a disaster. Just one, because it spreads like wildfire. And that's one of the problems, containing it. Then the non-specificity of the presentations, as we have seen, how most of the cases will mimic common illnesses, especially those that are treated by us ENT surgeons. So this is a problem. That's why, as I said earlier, on high index of suspicion, not only for those in Nigeria, but everybody within the West African coast when you're handling patients is very important. It's highly contagious. The control of the vector is a very big problem. Okay? A lot of things were profiled, ranging from trying to eliminate as many rats as possible within homes and within communities. However, we know that if you do this, the ecosystem is going to break and fail. Because the existence of these rats help in eliminating very minute animals, insects, and all those to maintain a balance in the ecosystem. So that's not good enough. It was suggested that biological control, whereby you can set some predators like cats against this rat, may be a way out. But we pointed that it was suggested that it may even be more dangerous if over time you have some genetic changes within these cats and they become carriers. They will be more dangerous than the rats. So that's not a good option either. Then you talk of cleanliness at home and all those, very important. Neurological sequelae for survivors, we know it's a very big problem because once this is contracted, ribavirin shot within the first 7 days, just a shot of ribavirin within the first 7 days is known to be very, very effective. This time around, the IV drug, not the tablet. Unfortunately, during the outbreak, you see tablets being distributed everywhere. Well, it's been proven that it's the IV that works. Nobody knows why, but that is it. You give IV, you have up to 95% survival rate within the first 1 week if this is identified and treated. Well, however, we know that at least 25% will still come down with cerebral hearing loss. So that's not a fantastic option either. Rehabilitation of these patients, I've talked of hearing aids, how is not all that efficient. I've talked of cochlear implants, yes. Cochlear implants has worked in some people, including a very prominent governor in Nigeria. But in a lot of cases where you have this calcification, that becomes a problem. It is a potential biological weapon. If it goes into the hands of terrorists, wrong people in the society, it is a very effective biological weapon, just like anthrax and some other diseases. Now, a lot of discussion in Nigeria last week at the conference was centered on the prospect of vaccine, and this has been like a recurring decimal, because we know that if we're able to get an efficient vaccine that is effective against Lassa fever, and this is incorporated into the routine immunization scheme of children, and even the adults among us now will receive it, that over time it will be a thing of the past. We'll be able to break this chain permanently. But it's not as easy as that. Okay? CEPI, which is an organization that has dedicated a lot of resources into this research, they were prominent in Abuja during the research. They've presented a lot of work, a lot of things they have done, vaccines, but we keep on having ups and downs. Some strains will be off. Some strains will be captured. So it's still experimental as we are speaking. And one point that I kept hammering in all these seminars, wherever we come together to talk, is that they should not be in a hurry to come out with any that is even able to capture all the strains. They should be able to follow up whatever experimental animal that is being used to rule out this possibility of hearing loss, because basically these vaccines are antibodies. So if you don't work on it proper, over time it's possible that patients that you are all out to protect, you give them hearing losses. And of course, we know that rapid diagnostic kit will be a way out, because diagnostic centers, we talk of level 4 biosafety laboratory, which is extremely expensive. That's why you can put me only one very functional one in Nigeria, just one. The other ones in Lagos and places, they're good enough, but not as functional as the one you have in Europe. And the dream of having one in each geopolitical zone in Nigeria is like, building on nothing, because of the fact that even the one existing now was through help by the German government, the North Institute. That's the people that help in building the one in Europe. So, that the way out will be making sure that we'll have an effective rapid diagnostic kit, just like the malaria diagnostic stuff that you have, which at least some reasonable percentage will be able to give you a high sensitivity and specificity towards identifying this illness. So if you have any patient, you don't need to send these samples that will take up to 72 hours before they return. Just with a drop of the blood or any of the body fluids, you're able to identify this. Work is ongoing on this, but the problem, the one that was about to be launched, also realized that some strains were missed out. Harvard is working on that. In conclusion, we can say that Lassa fever mimics common oral diseases. This should be known, so that's why we all got to be very careful. And that early sensorial hearing loss in Lassa fever infection has a prevalence of about 13.5%. So it's not just only at convalescent stage, it can also happen at this. And interestingly, it could be a reflection of worse disease process because of high morbidity mortality among those that have this stuff. At the meeting in Abuja, the ophthalmologists, they made their own presentation, and interestingly, it tallied with what we had. They realized that at the first week, which is the early phase, that some patients present with conjunctival hemorrhage. And those ones that have conjunctival hemorrhage, that the fatality rate is very high. So we agreed that we're going to work with them, ophthalmology and ENT together, to explore the hearing loss and this early hemorrhage as a predictive factor towards survival. So we postulated that direct viral infection, aside immunological reaction, would also be a mechanism and the cause. Is there any hope? I think there is. Thank you very much for listening.
Wash hands, how to carry sanitizers and so on. And many shops sold in thousands. Everybody carried all over the place. In the primary school, but it appears people are now relaxing. I remember that time in the universities, they have what they call Ebola greeting. They don't touch your friend, so people don't do that. And then some university students, they keep their phone. Just Ebola greeting, don't want to touch anybody. And when you go to the churches, many of the pastors before will say, join your hand with your friend and pray together. You don't pray on your own. It appears we are relaxing. And I believe we should continue with some of these basic hygiene in schools and at homes. Because like the two gentlemen said in their presentation, these diseases are very deadly, and we are just hoping that the vaccine and so on will come. Is there any vaccine, such vaccine like we are talking about, that of Lassa fever? Is there such vaccine for Ebola? Are we thinking along that line as well? Thank you.
Is there a way of longer time follow-up to see what specific long-term manifestation, apart from for those that survive initial Ebola, despite indirect contacts, whether they are residual ear, nose, and throat manifestation. Now, Professor Ibekwe, I think your study is very bold and brave. Very few people are going to be doing Kyoto University on a condition as deadly as Lassa fever during their acute phase. So I really commend you. And we have experience with just 2 post-Lassa fever patients treated, sent for implants program. One happened to have had the Lassa fever 24 years ago, and all his life has lived without hearing since, and was admitted to Gallaudet University in the United States, which is university for the deaf people. And it was after 24 years that they brought in that whether we could do anything for him. Of course, plasticity already set in, but otherwise he had radiological indication for implants. In other words, he wasn't among those types that already have their labyrinth ossified. So the second.
You talked about the vaccine being given in 1 week as being very effective and curing. I really am getting confused about that. Again, the areas you isolated, or not you isolating the area, but you talked about Abakaliki, you talked about Irua. There are also some traditional practices that I think may need to change. For example, those farmers and women, you see them spreading their egusi, that is, and then the melon, gari, and everything. They dry them along the road as we move around. And I think it's when these rats come to feed that probably they contaminate the area. I think if we do something on this aspect in the localities, we may be controlling Lassa fever. Again, you talked about the mammary, the rats passing urine when they are agitated. Is that period that they seem to increase the viral load in those things, or has any study been done so that they compare when they pass urine in the quiet place and when they pass urine when they are agitated, whether there is any constitutional change in them?
Increase serum calcium. I'm just thinking. And also, is there a possibility of having an assay of victims during the acute episodes, during the phases, and studying the levels so that we could have a baseline? Because since we are still, with all due respect, still groping in terms of curative measures now, if we look at the electrolytes level, for instance, maybe if we have, in acute phases, we have high calcium, high manganese, high potassium, and we do something to reverse that, maybe in a way we could be trying to make the human environment uninhabitable for the virus and maybe killing it. So that we look at these options in terms of curative measures. So maybe some form of electrolyte correction might just be all we need in acute phase, and lo and behold, we'll be having a cure or something. So I'm just thinking, in acute phase, is it possible to have a monitoring level of the electrolytes or other factors? And even in association with cochlear calcification, if there are other changes that we know or we don't see hitherto, that if reversed can bring a cure or some form of relief for the patients.
As regards the vaccine and the long-term follow-up, Titus will have to talk about that. I remembered after the breakthrough in the US, there was something that he actually worked on to see the long-term follow-up of these patients. And then you have to talk about that. He's also going to talk about the breaking of the ecosystem, the ossification issue, the killing of rats. Do you think you can kill all the rats? I don't think so. But you need to break the ecosystem. As a doctor, I don't think you have a right to refuse your patient. But then you should be able to manage whatsoever that is set before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the number of questions and interest generated during these discussions shows that the symposium was well taken by the audience, so we appreciate that. We don't have answer to all the questions because people seated on this divide are intellect. But I can tell you that from your questions, research questions are already being made. Some of the questions raised by this audience. Because research is endless. You ask questions, more will come. But I will address the ones I can, the ones I know the answers to. Ebola and vaccine. Because the work Shego presented, as I said, we were the lead, but the entire infectious disease committee of American Academy were fully part of it. We know that after Ebola, there came what they call the post-Ebola syndrome. That became another issue. And this post-Ebola syndrome presents with similar features, just like the last that we were talking about. We have people having tremors, having convulsion, and all this. And we were talking of working on hearing on that to find out. And we went as far as contacting the Ministry of Health, contacting the NCDC. The lead persons joined in the teamwork. We were able to track the survivors of Ebola there. But what they were calling, the amount of money that they should be given, and that they have to be flown from wherever they are to Abuja and paid so amount. So we got to that stage, proposal, everything written, everything almost concluded. We couldn't continue with that. So that was what happened post-Ebola syndrome. But there are a lot of similarities, presentation of Ebola and Lassa. In this last conference, we're saying that these two things should be looked side by side. There may be similarities, so that when you are trying to develop vaccine for Lassa, they have come very far. You should be looking towards the direction of Ebola also. It's possible that at the end you may have one shot that can take care of the two. Yeah, I want to say something about IRWA Specialist Teaching Hospital. IRWA is a model, and I'm so happy that my career started there. I will enjoy not anybody that can take a trip down to IRWA to see the setup, the responsiveness. In fact, we say that every doctor, every nurse, every worker in the hospital has what we call the Lassa culture. They are so bold. Nobody is afraid of approaching any of these patients. Okay, because the laboratory there is very functional, very effective. You see people from outside the country coming in on daily basis. Everything needed is there. And in their presentation at the last meeting, they said they have not lost any of their workers to acute outbreak of fever, of Lassa fever. They have not. Because of that culture. All the things you need to protect yourself is there. Everybody, each and every one of the workers will do that diligently and excellently well. There's a dedicated ward. They have built more now for this. And attached to this, all these places that look like clinics and laboratories within, that you can just move in the patient without the patient coming out, like the one-stop shopping place that you can do everything for the patient within there. And behind, there is a triaging place that you can move the patient if you want to take them to the lab without having any contact with patients on the other side of the hospital. And the lab is located at very further away from, but within the same premises, but at the back of the hospital, some gap, you know, away from where conventional patients are seen. So everything is so well worked out and perfected. But I was thinking of something. I was saying probably a lot of us working there could have had mild form of Lassa and you had immunity without knowing it. since you keep on interacting with these patients on a daily basis. That was my own belief. As a very young consultant, I just finished in UCH, got employed there. I realized that the CMD of the hospital, who is a professor of neurologist, is part and parcel of the lancet. His CMAC is part and parcel of that research work. Even this publication that we did, they're all there, they're part of it. And they went as far as recruiting people they felt will add value to what they're doing. Professor Milabu, who is a virologist from Lagos University Teaching Hospital, was brought into that center, help them in work. And this work that was done, he was part of it. So every precaution is taken, but when you become too careful, that's my belief. When you become too careful, you may fall a victim or anything that you want to run away from the patient. Once you do what you're supposed to do, it is possible that some mild contact may give you some immunity. I don't know. Unfortunately, part of other phases of this work that I left behind to the younger ENT surgeons working with me, one that for Basikene and others. The community phase of that study, I didn't carry it out. It was there. And in this last meeting, I was being called upon to come back and join them. Let's continue in the finish one. And I've accepted. I'll be popping in there for us to carry out the other parts of the work. They've come very far. In every facet, the ONG aspect of LASA, a lot of work being done, this vaccine and other departments. So LASA is a very huge research area. So universal precaution, as Olusegun said, is the key thing that everybody must embrace. You know, you don't have to run away from the patient, but do the proper thing you're supposed to do. You're supposed to wear your gloves, wear your face mask and all those, and even gown when you're not very sure. You finish, remove all these things, wash your hands very well. It is hardly that you contact them. That story that was going viral, I don't believe in it because of what I have seen in the hospital, what is still being done. I'm not afraid of handling any case. But the reality is, as I said, the first week of contacting this illness is very critical if you must get a cure. A lot of people that are brought to the hospital or that find themselves to the hospital, the case must have been mismanaged. They're treating all sorts of malaria illnesses, getting to 1 month, then it's already too late. And once you start having the hemorrhagic phase of the illness, it's like almost point of no return. It needs Messiah for the person to come out of it. So that's possibly what will happen. Okay, yes. Reason for the viral load. Well, over there, people were laughing when you were talking, sister. But there is Dr. Okoro. Dr. Okoro is a microbiologist over there. His own work was working on the animal. You can search his papers. He has done a lot on the animal, so I wouldn't know. It's possible that you would have worked on what you have talked about. They are so bold there. They dissect these animals because they know their onions. If there's any problem, they can treat them. So people are working in that area. Lassa not being curable, I didn't say that. I said that within the first week, you catch these patients, you do the right thing, 95% will be saved, minimum, or even more. But at least 25% among these survivors will come down with illness. Yeah, reason for the calcification, Amodi, you made a very good point. That's not the focus of the initial work that we did, but as I said, it has lots of branches, so many other things to be done in that respect. But an aspect that really caught my attention, and that of Professor Kukere was their CMAC then, was that there's a medical student, a final year medical student, a young lady that had Lassa. Unfortunately, came down with this hearing loss. The parents are rich. They took her to Germany, nothing could be done. They couldn't do cochlear implants in the patient. She was brought back, a young lady. I don't know if she was able to finish a medical school, she graduated or not. So after that, we started thinking of what could be done to help. What was just said, I wouldn't know about that. as nicotinic acid. But what I know is that, yes, nicotinic acid belongs to that group, but what's it called? The cochlear vasodilators, yes, as early phase and hyperbaric oxygen for those that are admitted early could be given, that it helps. But there's something that we're working on, which I'm not sure I will give out here, because even in the last research, the details were not given out, which is present in common fruit within our environment, which have been found to be giving some useful results. So we're working on that. If it comes out fine, that means that every case of Lassa, as soon as you detect, you will start on that particular element or drug. And it helps in protecting the ear for that deterioration and for that ear loss. Lower animals has given an excellent report. Okay.